can't believe it. The entire crime scene entered as evidence? Yes, Great Britain is simply extraordinary. I could help myself a lot by giving that omnibus a thorough examination, seeing as it's here. I mean, I already did that. I just climbed out of it. Let us continue with proceedings then. Your cross-examination, counsel. Pray don't expect this Nipponese stray to understand the intricacies of British court's cross-examination rights. Alright, my first cross-examination in a British court. Slap. Focus, Ryunosuke. Focus! Why did you slap yourself? That is, we don't do that here. What the witnesses saw. Okay. Which side? And you saw them through the skylight and the roof of the carriage. That's right. When you sit on the top deck, the window's right there at your feet.
It's only if you sit in the back, but what if
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. There was a light on inside, so I had a pretty good view. The two of them were wearing hats, and I couldn't exactly make out their faces. But there's not a shred of doubt in my mind that it was Mr. McGilded. How can you be so sure? Well, how can I put it politely? Mr. McGilded is a gentleman of rather small stature. I couldn't have mistaken him for anyone else. Let's not forget that when the victim came to a halt, the only people inside the enclosed cabin were the deceased Mr. Mason and Mr. McGilded. There's
Unless if the real culprit hid in the...
Yeah. There's no room for doubt here. I really wish there was. So you actually saw it? Then I'll testify to that. Fair dinkum, hard-working city bankers not considered trustworthy these days. They are not, in fact. Oh, no, I didn't mean that. That's no good. I've really got his back up. My lord. Juror number 3. What's the meaning for this? What did he say? Made up about what? I don't like the stinking rich, never have. They're always up to something or other that they shouldn't be. Every one of them. I mean, he's right. And that little leprechaun of man is no exception. Well, he can't fool me.
What the fuck?
Okay. There's no point wasting your time listening to any more of this. That's my opinion on the matter, anyway. That's precisely what I was about to say. As for the foreman of the jury, it's my duty to set a good example to my fellow jurors. What is happening here? Let me see. Ah, yes, it seems that's how the members of the jury give their verdicts. With fire? Apparently, yes. White for innocent and black for guilty. As the 6 members of the jury make up their minds about the case, one by one they each cast a ball of fire into the great scales of justice, as we saw a moment ago. So if those enormous scales fall completely to the black side, does that mean... Let's do our very best to make sure that doesn't happen. Now I'm even more worried than I was before. Very well. The court acknowledges the change in the jury's stance. Counsel for the defense, please continue with your cross-examination. Holy shit. This is a nightmare. He stabbed him. I screamed I did. Couldn't help it. How loud? How many decibels, you say? And you were sitting up on the roof deck, were you? That's right, sir. I was up in the roof seats. I remember seeing the little gent sitting next to the fellow that was stabbed. I'd been thinking about a new hat design, you see, so I was just gazing absent-mindedly around. But then I happened to look down through the skylight. It was sticking right out of his belly, that huge, great knife. Firm sharp indeed. Ah, that didn't help me at all. The jury looked like they're even more convinced my client did it than they were before. That appears to have made everyone even more dubious that Mr. McGilded is telling the truth. If only we had some evidence to counter their suspicions. Mr. First. Oh, yes, sir?
Wait a second, what part of the blood stain is? Is it actually across from the first C, or is it right underneath it?
I don't know. Oh, you mean like which seat they were stabbed? The blood is on? Yeah, no, it's the one underneath that you would be able to see from the skylight.
Okay, so it is that one.
Yeah, that's the first thing I thought of too. Is this the knife you saw? Oh, good grief, yes, that's it. The very one, sir. Is that... The murder weapon. This is the blade that was driven into the victim's belly like a stake through the heart, except through the belly. So it was more like a blade of some kind. That is a blade of considerable size, Counsel. It is, and furthermore, the scabbard is emblazoned prominently with a certain initial M, which seems oddly familiar. M. No. That's M for Magnus, perhaps, or McGilded, possibly. Take your pick. It seems this particularly big name in London made a magnificent mistake.
Objection!
But there are M's everywhere. Yes, like in Mason.
Objection!
Objection. This blade is far too extravagant for a poor brickmaker to have owned. No, this weapon of murder almost certainly belongs to the accused. Not conclusive, but certainly compelling, Counsel. The murder weapon. I will stab it into the court record. Ugh. My lord, if you'll forgive the interruption. Juror number 2, go on. Mr. McGilded is a pillar of society and a gentleman. A gentleman's word should be sacrosanct. However, he's guilty. Those of us in service know we must accept hard truths. Wait, what are you about to do? Dispose of the rubbish in the rubbish bin!
So wait, can they change their verdict?
I don't know. No! I don't wish to cause offense, but I do like to eradicate all traces of filth and crime. I'll do it too. I have painstakingly typed every word uttered here today and cross-referenced all the facts. As such, I am now in position to draw the only logical conclusion. I'll lose. There's no way for me to win. Not again. That's 4 out of 6 jury members who've proposed a guilty verdict. There are only 2 left. We've had it. Every time I press these witnesses for more information, I just make the situation worse. Nevertheless, what we need more than anything at the moment is more information. We're still very much in the dark. I suppose I'll just have to keep pressing the witnesses, knowing that more sparks may well fly. We mustn't give up hope that we'll uncover something that will give us a way to fight back. But... Alright, I'll keep trying. I can't give up. I just need to keep calm. You know, witnesses' statements again.
How would he have seen it?
He says right here. And as soon as I heard the scream, I stopped my bus, and then I saw it too. Okay, so I've pressed on this statement, that statement, that statement. I don't think there's anything here, so I'm gonna press on the last statement instead.
Hold it!
What exactly did you see? Oh, well, sir, that would be the passenger, sir. Collapsed on the floor he was. And by the passenger, obviously you are referring to the victim, Mr. Mason, the brickmaker. And the other passenger had that knife in his hand, like this. By the other passenger, obviously you are referring to the accused, Mr. Magnus McGoulded. And then he plunged it down like this, stabbing the other passenger. Wait, what are you talking about?
How would he have seen that?
Yeah, what are you talking about? Wouldn't you have stopped the bus before? Allah knows no philanthropist, my lord. Only the innocent and the guilty. Good deeds mean nothing when overshadowed by evil. The truth is everything. Couldn't agree more, my sir. The truth. Yeah, something doesn't add up here.
Yeah.
So when it happened, the only two people in the enclosed cabin area were the victim and the defendant. And, so help me, 3 whole people witnessed the man trying to defend... I'm trying to defend do the deed. I don't like to be pessimistic, but we do seem to be in a rather difficult situation here. What am I supposed to think here? Is Mr. McGilded really innocent? Or could it be... Before we jump to conclusions, our first task should be to gather information. Yeah. Okay. So... Unfortunately, I don't think there's a way for me to do it.
He didn't slump to the floor.
Unfortunately, I don't think it added to his statement. Yeah, no, unfortunately, it doesn't... Everything he said didn't add to it. So I wonder if I just have to keep pressing him in particular, because... Damn it, everything he said was wrong, but, like... It didn't...
You gotta prove how it's wrong.
Didn't, yeah, it didn't get added to the testimony. Oh, yes, sir, that's right, sir, yes. It was so cold it was. Freezing, in fact. So much more freezing than it is in here. Look at my fucking breath, Jesus. And you had 4 passengers on board at the time, is that correct? Yes, that's right, sir. Not traveling all the same parts of the bus, of course, though, no. And there were no other passengers when the incident took place. No one alighted, for example. You're quite right with that, sir. No other passengers like that, no. So nobody fled the scene of the crime, then? I have to say, the boss insists on running it, he says, every evening, the last bus of the night. But I do wonder sometimes if it's altogether worthwhile. Yes, sorry to say. What do you mean by that? Well, what with it being so cold and everything, and only making 20 pence on the run, you see. Yes, I spend that much at the pub on the way home, just trying to warm up again. I just can't believe it, sir. I can't believe it. A murder on my own bus. It's just too awful to think about. I haven't been able to shake this cold ever since it happened. Yeah, I figured this is gonna happen. I wouldn't be right to make a decision before hearing all the facts, though, I said to myself. But I've heard enough now. The horse is bolted, as they say. No, please, just keep an open mind a little longer. Gee up now, so Blaze, the finish is in sight.
I think they can take back their statements.
Beppo was a long-standing member of the guild, and I trust what the man says. Oh, thank you, sir. You're too kind, sir. This is too unkind, sir. Which now means that 5 jurors agreed to condemn this man. The one remaining is the old woman, the actual murderer.
Oh God, that's right.
Madam Juror number 6. Yes, dear. What can I do for you? Have you been paying attention? Oh, yes. I certainly have. Still got my hearing, you know. Then pray tell why you yet pronounced your leaning. Well, dear, the thing is, I'm a creature of habit, me. I always go to the park at around this time of day, and sit on a nice bench and get on with my knitting. There's a lovely little park just near where I live. McGilded Park, it's called. The gentleman donated it to the city, you know, to put a smile on Londoners' faces, he said. I can imagine such a fine young gentleman would have had it in him to take another man's life. He's always doing wonderful things for the city. That's right, a man like that wouldn't stab someone, surely. Mother, may we go to the McGilded Public Library later and borrow some more books? How many Londoners live with their heads in the clouds? Do you people not know what kind of a man Magnus McGilded really is? What kind of a man is he? The philanthropist Magnus McGilded has enough wealth to purchase the entire city he claims to value so highly. But where did all the wealth come from? Emerald mines. Your client is a Shylock, sir, and one with the very darkest of souls. What? Stone the Crows. McGilded lends money at extraordinary rates of interest, so his victims have no hope of repaying him. I'm getting flashbacks to level to 3-3. When they default, he takes possession of everything they own. He's a vulture that preys on the weak. I've never heard of any mention of that before. Your faculties haven't deserted you, I'm sure, madam. So has this thought not crossed your mind? Would a man wealthy enough to buy London in its entirety not have a carriage of his own? What possible reason could this man have had to make use of a public omnibus service, except for murder? You're not saying that. The victim, a poor brickmaker, had next to nothing to his name, save considerable financial liability. It will come as no surprise that his creditor was the accused, Magnus McGilded. But let it also be known that the very day Mr. Mason was killed was the final repayment date for his debts. Oh no! Gracious. The brickmaker was destitute. He had lost his house. He had not a shilling with which to repay his debts. And in the end, his pitiful soul had the very last thing he owned taken from him, his life. By the merciless philanthropist pretender. Where are you going?
I gotta work on that dress.
Okay, you bring it out here?
I'll be too focused on the game. I'm sorry.
But we just started.
I know, and I gotta leave at 3. Could be in the meeting.
Will you come back?
I don't know. We'll see how far I get.
Okay. I don't believe it. If I might add something briefly. Miss Susato. You claim that the victim had been lent money by Mr. McGilded. But where is the evidence to support your claim? Oh fuck, you can do that too. Wine. 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 Pray the discourtesy of filling my hallowed chalice in a court of law. Aha, there it is. Lord Van Zeek's hallowed chalice. How can this be considered acceptable? But I find myself in unexpectedly good humor. I'd heard ladies from the Far East could show great courage, but I didn't expect to experience this myself. Ah! As judicial assistant to the defense, I'm simply doing my job. What a pity that your display of courage is in vain. This is the debtor's ledger, which details all monies loaned by the accused. You will find the victim's name clearly recorded inside. Allow me to present this ledger as evidence. This is a cup of wine, and pray forgive the discourtesy of raising my chalice in a toast to Ignatic East at the same time. A marvelous toast, Counsel. I will gladly accept this new evidence. Okay. The victim owed 20 guineas. Oh yes, 20 guineas. The victim owed a considerable sum, and the accused made quite certain he had ample recompense. Open that shit up. This portfolio must contain all sorts of secrets of London's gentry. Oh dear, do you really think we ought to look inside? Well, it's not as though we know any of London's gentry personally, is it? Apart from our great detective friend, perhaps. Actually, I wonder. I assure you we will not find Mr. Sholm's name inside. Well, let's see what we find anyway. I can't read it. Gosh, it's crammed full of gentlemen's names, isn't it? Well, I suppose they're probably not all gentlemen at all, are they? After all, no, not everyone in this country is well off. Ah, goodness, what is it? Look at this, do you see the name here? Bruce Fairplay. Should that mean something to me? It does sound strangely familiar, actually. Bruce Fairplay, the witness testifying at this very moment. Oh yes, of course, the banker. Why is his name in here? Ah, he borrowed 20 guineas, did he? And look, the repayment date is fast approaching. It's possible that this is just a coincidence, of course, but this could be very useful information. Okay. Well, it would seem I've had the wool pulled over my eyes. Regrettably, madam, that is the modus operandi of the accused. It's such a pretty little park, too. What a scoundrel. Still. Maybe it's all for the best. Wait a minute. Let's think about this a little more. I don't stand for nonsense! Wha-bam! Guilty! Fuck. That was it. Last juror's decision. According to this encyclopedia of British law, when all members of the jury have concluded that the defendant is guilty, court proceedings are suspended, and the presiding judge will deliver the final verdict and sentence. That's what it says here. Ha, the final verdict. It's over then. Oh. There's a footnote, though. A footnote? However, the defense... Finish your thought! All 6 members of the jury are now in agreement in this case. As they should be. Allow me to convey my respect for your swift and righteous decision. According to the laws of this country, I will now conclude the trial by delivering my final verdict. I trust there are no objections.